Hitman 2. How much have you guys played? Jeffem, let's start with you.
I played the whole thing.
For review.
That's right.
You gave it an 8. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Jeff
That's
Cork?
fair.
I played it about an hour or so.
JV.
I've played the first 3 levels, so the tutorial level on the beach, Miami, and then the cartel level. I forgot where that is, but some jungle somewhere.
Santa Fortuna.
Yeah, that place.
Yeah.
Saint Fortune.
Cool. Yeah, I'm maybe like 16, 17 hours in. I've played each level a couple times now. I'm in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more Hitman.
It is.
Yeah.
Jeffem?
Fair assessment, Leo.
I think I saw your face twitch there, Leo. I don't know how you guys work in the same bullpen and you don't kill him.
No, an 8 is a fair score for somebody who doesn't get Hitman.
Yeah, Leo fair enough. Leo came over to my desk after reading it and said he loved my review.
It's true. So where do we start? Where do you even begin with this thing? What's new since the first one? Let's talk about that. It's a stealth open world, kind of. Big sandboxes, giant levels. You're doing stealth. You're getting disguises. You're killing people. People who
Bad
deserve to
people.
be killed. Bad
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
It's less of an assassin vibe and more of like a super spy vibe, it feels like, especially with the new music. It's kind of a little more upbeat. Feels like a James Bond to me. Is that fair to say?
Sure, Leo.
I do not know how to host
yeah.
a podcast.
There are, as far as additions and improvements go, they're pretty minor, but they are helpful quality of life things. You know, they'll have like a picture-in-picture to show you if something important is happening. So if you like turn off a circuit breaker or something, they'll show you that someone has noticed and that they are coming out, so you can kind of time your stuff a little better like that.
I love that.
You have foliage now that you can hide in, which is helpful.
And crowd blending. That works kind of similar to foliage, where you just kind of see the ring form when you're in a safe spot where nobody will see you, unless they get super close.
Right.
But that's cool. And they the whole first season's levels are playable in this one, which they're now $20 to get that full pack if you don't already own it, which is a great price for 6 gigantic,
Yeah.
fantastic levels.
It will give you more of what you want.
That's right.
Fully
And
simulated societies, I believe you said, Leo.
that's right. You can watch our favorite games of all time list to see me talk about how much I love the first Hitman. Or you can listen to right now.
Hi, this is
Yes.
Ben Hansen, a longtime listener, first-time caller from the booth here. I was confused diving in and playing about an hour of this game. It's like, where do I start? There's like the campaign, there's the contracts, there's these other modes. I don't know how much is old content.
Yeah.
What do I go for?
Because they
What-
throw you right into the world of assassination, as they
That's
call
correct.
it.
Yeah, where's the starting point here? What's new? What should we focus on?
Thanks for your question, Hanson.
take my
You'll
answer
take
off
your
the air.
answer off the air. Yes. Start with Hitman 2. The way it's presented is it's laid out like prologue, which is tutorial. So if you haven't played Hitman at all, you can start there. It's mostly the same tutorial as in the first game, but it's a good tutorial. Then there's Hitman 1, which is the first season of content. Then there's Hitman 2. Hitman 2 is all the new stuff. So it is separated by campaign like that in the starting menu. So
It's pretty straightforward. Only an idiot caller would make that mistake.
we got to screen our calls better.
Yes.
Would you guys start with Hitman 2? Is there any reason to do that if you haven't played either of them, or would you may as well start from the first one?
I think you
since
should
they're
start
so
with
similar
Hitman
now?
2. I think that
Okay.
tutorial is fantastic and one of my favorite tutorials I've
Yeah.
ever played. Like,
Explain
it's
it
just,
a little bit.
So you start out on a beach. It looks like you're in like Iceland or somewhere. It's called Hawke's
New
Bay.
Zealand.
New Zealand. Yeah, that's Iceland, right? That's
Sure.
that's the same thing.
Got land in it.
Yeah. So your whole thing, it's much smaller than any of the other levels. I feel like it's just
Yeah.
a beach house. It's just a 2-story beach house where you have to go in, access a computer, and then your target arrives. She's some kind of arms dealer, an assassin, or another assassin or someone, and she has like a whole guard detail, and you have to kill her and get out. And it's just a very good setup to show, oh, this is how, this particular series uses its real estate well, because there's like so many ways this one single assassination can go down.
In one house.
In one house. And like all the other levels are huge. So I really like it as a way to like sort of showcase like what really works about this without even, the sprawl of the other levels. Like this is just why this is so much fun, because the game was downloading, so I could only play that level. But even after that was done and I played some of the other ones, I kept coming back to that one just to
Sure.
experiment with like the physics and stuff to see, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry,
And
Jeff.
no, that it feels much more like a Hitman level from some of the older games, and that
Yeah.
kind of dovetails into my criticism of the newer games and what I liked about the older ones, but what I enjoy it more in the second one than I did the first game from 2 years ago, which is that when the levels got larger and larger, it got harder to kind of organically find the kind of assassination opportunities, like the more creative scripted ones.
Sure.
Whereas in the older games, you could play through a level, you could kind of run around and get the gist of what's going on in a shorter amount of time, and you kind of knew where the opportunities were by yourself, and so you felt like you were discovering them, and you felt really smart from that. And in the newer games, the other levels besides that one are so large that you would have a very hard time kind of randomly coming upon that, or even once you figure out what you can do, there are usually multiple steps in it that will kind of, you'll be looking for a specific item and you don't know where that item is, and running around, a huge open world kind of level to find that can be really frustrating.
It takes a lot of patience. Yeah, it's definitely a unique kind of game.
And so the way they've counteracted that is they give you guides, which in the first game were called opportunities, and now they're called
mission stories.
Mission stories, which doesn't make I liked opportunities better, but they will kind of walk you through the steps for it, which is nice to kind of, that makes it a lot less frustrating. You're not searching for things, but at the same time, it feels a little hand-holdy, and you kind of lose that magic.
I will say PSA, something I wish they surfaced was that in the gameplay settings, you can turn mission stories to minimal. So instead of full, where it's like, get this outfit from this guy, then go do this thing, it's more just, get this type of outfit, and you have to figure out a good way to do it.
Yeah.
So minimal in the settings is really helpful.
Yeah, and that helps.
Cork, what did you do in your time with it?
Well, I should say, like, the hour just is me messing around in the cabin or the beach house a little bit. But I did play the Miami level in an event too, so I did both the assassinations there. So all told, I spent more than an hour in there.
Right.
But mostly just methodically went through that opening mission. I really took my time and made sure I wasn't detected or anything. I think that's ultimately the way to play. Yeah, I love doing that.
Nice.
This is the opening mission, so you find a room that is full of guns, and I think that's one of the most frustrating things about this series to me is, like, you see all these guns and you know that I don't want to use any of them because it feels like you're just giving up or failing.
Yeah, you've done something wrong at that point.
Right,
if
there's
you're using them.
Yeah.
I completely agree. It's the biggest failing is that so many unlocks are, here's a new shotgun to use.
Yeah,
and not even any challenges incentivize that at all.
Yeah.
Not only do you get a really low score on a mission if you go loud, but you don't get any challenges, which is how you get the mastery XP, which is how you get unlocks for levels. So it gives you no reason to use them, and it gives you 100 of them.
And the shooting feels adequate. It doesn't. That's not what the game is. It is a
It
shooter.
works when you need to do it, but it's not like the fun way to play it or anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think Hitman is at its best when you play it like it's a puzzle game.
Yeah,
like straight
for sure.
up, like not a shooter, not even like so far as much as like, a stealthy assassination game. Like, don't think of it as Metal Gear, but like, okay, how do I get this person over here so I can like hit this switch or get them to drink the poison thing or the poison drink? That's when it's best.
Yeah, or die in this accident, and if you do it right, everybody sees the accident happen but doesn't know it was a murder.
Yeah.
It's also fun. I like to think of it also as like a sort of like story discovery thing where you just find, oh, cool. I didn't realize this was here. Like on the Miami level, I had the suitcase and sniper rifle that I had like progressed enough in the level by replaying it enough. So I found an overhead where you can like sit there and just snipe the race car that one of your targets is in, and that's super satisfying just to find them without like the mission opportunities, because there are feats that exist outside of that where it's just like, oh, cool, I didn't know this was here, and I unlocked like a special achievement, and I found it on my own. Like those moments are really gratifying.
Agreed. That's almost the most fun part, is solving those yourself.
Yeah, and I will say that is one of the reasons why I like this season, or Hitman 2 more than the first one. Is first, I think the levels are more memorable and more interesting to me. I enjoyed replaying them more than I did the previous ones. It didn't feel as much of a chore just because they were interesting and the opportunities in them were interesting. But then you also do have, I was complaining about how they kind of lay everything out for you if you use those guides, but there are a ton of more challenges and more interesting ways that you can kill them that they won't tell you, and you just kind of have to discover them. And so there is a large learning curve for every level that was still kind of frustrating to me, to kind of, you do have to still go around and learn everyone's routes and figure out where those items are. But once you have learned that, each level kind of really opens up, and it's a lot of fun to keep on replaying them.
Yeah, replaying them is definitely when I start to love them rather than like them. And that was the same way for the first season, too. So I'm excited to see how this shakes out versus the first season levels after I've spent as much time with them.
Sure.
Yeah. I also want to say that I think maybe I'm in the minority camp here, but I actually like the writing in Hitman, not like, the plot storytelling, which is just very convoluted and sort of wannabe Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy stuff. But
Sure, yeah.
there are lots of jokes in there, like some ranging from trashy, where one of your disguises in the Miami level is a cook named Florida Man, which, that's pretty good.
And he's got flies swarming around him constantly.
And then stuff like the rat poison you find is called ratatouille. So, I think it's funny.
Good.
I think it's amusing.
There's an opportunity mission story in the Whittleton Creek level where you're a real estate agent and you're giving a tour of this house that one of the targets is planning on buying. And Hitman is just talking about, like, there are 2 exits. The floor would be easy to clean. Just thinking about it like an assassin.
Worst
That was
house tour
hilarious.
ever, yeah.
Yeah. What were you guys' favorite mission stories so far?
I mean, I've only played 3, but I still really like the beach house. I understand later on there's one. My favorite mission in the whole series is from Blood Money, and it's called A New Day, and it takes place in sort of like a suburban neighborhood, and I feel like that's the best that series has ever been in terms of like size and memorizing stuff. Like I played that level so many times, and I hear there's like a sequel in this one coming up. So I really want to check that one out. I'm really excited. But so far, I like Miami a lot.
Miami is unbelievable.
Like, there's so many things you can do in that level, from like race car sabotage to getting a robot to kill someone. It's a very strange combination of things.
I thought I had seen everything in that level in the preview coverage because that's the only level they showed for so long, but there were still a ton of surprises going into it. The other new thing, Ghost Mode. A 1v1 competitive multiplayer in Hitman. Have you guys played this?
Nope, couldn't give a.
Cork and I did.
Do I write down the swear word?
I got a little boy Leo. Don't worry
Okay,
about
great. Thank you.
Yeah, Cork and I played it, and we didn't enjoy it.
Oh, no.
And maybe as, a Hitman super expert, you will enjoy what you're doing in that, but it just felt weird to try and turn the core gameplay into a race between 2 people.
Yeah.
It, like, the kind of stealthy plan your assassinations and stalk your targets and stuff didn't seem to really translate well.
I appreciate the effort, but it just didn't click with me.
Yeah, it requires like complete knowledge of the level in a way where it should probably be gated from if you've played Miami a few times or not, because it's so reliant on being able to know where you can get a good disguise quickly that will get you to where the target is. And I think I don't blame anybody for not liking it, because it's a weird mode, and if you are running through it and stuff, it's definitely not fun. To give full disclosure, I'm not going to brag, but I just want to give an accurate assessment of my time with the game for the viewers at home. I couldn't finish a match because I was womping people so hard they would quit. Which, just factual, I'm not bragging.
Yeah.
Sure.
You would never.
Yeah.
No, because there are lots of problems with it. For example, killing somebody takes away a point. I'm sorry, to back up more, you have to kill people silently.
Right.
That's the hardest part, is leaving the body undiscovered for the 10-second buffer or whatever before the point actually counts. And then if you take anybody's life who's not a target, you lose a point. Right. So getting up to 5 can take a very long time. And if somebody's in ahead by a couple, there's no reason to not just quit.
Yeah. I would suggest, if you want to play something that is called Hitman with another person, the sniper thing is pretty fun.
The sniper thing is so much fun.
Yeah, I super like the sniper challenge mode or whatever it's called.
I honestly hope, like, with the expansion pass or whatever, instead of getting like more regular Hitman levels, I get more of those. Like, I really like the sniper thing.
Yeah, I emailed them about that, and they said there are more levels coming. They were very vague about, when or how they're going to be delivered or stuff.
And that one is like the old, was there like Xbox 360?
Yeah,
mini
it was like a pre-order.
It's been on mobile too. There's been like a spin-off part of the series.
Yeah, it started as like a standalone pre-order mini game. If
Yeah.
you pre-ordered one of Absolution or something like that, you got it. And then they turned it into a mobile series.
And what do you do in it? And what do you like about it?
You're basically just camped out in one spot that kind of overlooks an entire level, which is basically like a diorama at that point. And there are targets going around that you have to kill, and then there are usually a bunch of bodyguards that you also have to kill. But you're still trying to do it without them noticing, so you have to wait until people are in a position where you can snipe them, and when you hit them, their bodies usually just fly, and so you're trying to get them to fall into ponds or smash through a window in an area of the mansion that no one's going to see and stuff. And so it's
Genius mechanic.
Yeah, it is a very different take on kind of the same core gameplay, and it's much faster paced, which is nice. It's a nice break as you're going through the missions, if you're kind of getting tired of being so patient and meticulous, you can kind of play that for a while. And then they have a ton of hidden Easter eggs and other things to do in the level.
Yeah,
which
it's also
still involve shooting things.
Yeah.
It's also worth mentioning that you have various types of ammo, so it's not just like, oh, you're shooting a guy regular rounds. Like if there are 3 people standing near the edge of this is like a wedding this is a wedding where a manor is taking place on a cliff for some reason, because rich people are idiots.
Right.
So one of them is called shockwave ammo, and it's basically just like an explosive round that you can hit near their feet, and they will go launching off of the cliff or through windows if they're near the mansion.
I like using that. If a body didn't go right where I wanted it, you can shoot it on the ground and it knocks the body up into into a pond or whatever.
Yeah, it's hyper arcadey. It reminds me of what was that? Was it Silent Scope?
Yep.
Yeah, it reminds me of a modern version of that, but not bad.
That's
Yeah.
really interesting. Yeah, I'm glad that's roped into the full experience now.
Yeah.
Because just having the first one and the second one, now when you go to the list of destinations in Hitman 2, it's 13 places, and that's very exciting for me.
Yeah.
I like Hitman a lot, you guys.
No, I think I don't think I love it quite as much as you do, but I like it a lot. It's one of my favorite games this year so far, and it's been a really big year for games, it feels like.
I'm excited for you to get to the later levels, because the last one is I knew nothing about it. I still haven't seen any images of it online, and it's just this totally unique, genius setup that's just a perfect super spy location that I won't spoil.
And again, just a ton of memorable assassinations in this one that as I was playing through, it was like, oh, that was super clever. And then it would happen again, an hour later, because you have to set everything up to make it happen. But those were always just very satisfying payoffs.
Yeah.
I also want to say, I wish more games had as reactive of an environment as Hitman does. For example, during that Miami level, I suddenly had a body on my hands because I had accidentally killed someone accidentally.
Sure.
And I was trying to figure out where to get rid of them, and I didn't see any containers nearby, but I was near an aquarium, and the prompt came up, dump the body. And I was like, okay, cool, this is convenient. And I really wish more games were as good at creating those moments where it was oh, I have a problem. Oh, a miraculous solution out of nowhere that's very clever, and feels organic. It's oh.
Yeah, I was assassinating a guy on a tower who was just on a phone call, and he had a bodyguard watching over him, and so I just sneakily threw a coin behind the bodyguard, and he turned around for 1 second, and in that time I knocked out the guy with a soda can and dumped his body off the side, just kicked it off with my foot before the bodyguard turned around.
It's so ludicrous too, because those things are kind of the things that you would see in the background of something happening in Austin Powers or something. It feels like a gag, and I really like it. Yeah.
He's that kind of super spy. Well, great. Hitman 2, I give it a 10. And that's all I care
That's
about.
all that matters. Yeah.
That was just a clip from a larger show called The Game Informer Show. You can find it on iTunes, Google Play, or GameInformer.com. We take the fun opportunities and exclusive information from Game Informer magazine and boil it into a show that airs every Thursday with exclusive cover story information, developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So come love games with us.